Well, it's been a while since I've made a video for the channel that wasn't a live stream or some rambling nonsense. I mean, this is going to be rambling nonsense, don't get me wrong. But it's going to be the kind of rambling nonsense that gets me in trouble. Because I'm going to criticize someone's work, who you've already seen. You've already seen the title of the video. I'm criticizing it. I don't have many good things to say about this work. I gave the first one a chance, and it was okay. I thought it had some problems. Thought it had some big structure problems with the story. And today, we have a lot of people who want to offer their opinions about things. Oh, this wasn't good. This was crap. I get it. Another rando on the internet telling someone who's actually done something what they should have done better. I get it. I totally understand if this criticism is seen as just some other random idiot on the internet saying something stupid. I get it. However, there's structural problems with the story, which basically amount to it's so fast-paced and it crams so much into a limited amount of pages that the story feels both simultaneously boring and super fast, just way too fast-paced. I don't know any of the characters. I don't know who they are. I don't know their likes. I don't know what type of person they are other than broad strokes. I believe he was a combat veteran, and now he's a priest. This is another priest who also fights evil. That's about all I know about the characters, and I've read 2 comics with them. Maybe I'm just missing things. It's possible. It's possible I don't know. And then, at the end of the first book, spoiler alert, a character from the beginning of the book comes back, and I'm expected to care about them. But that character wasn't suitably set up. It wasn't a character that I got to know and enjoy their company. That I really got to experience them as a character, as a reader, learning about a character, getting invested in their journey, and then seeing them have something tragic happen to them. I didn't care, ultimately. It felt like there was 20 to 30 pages of character development totally missing from the story. And I thought, it's the first comic this guy's made. It's the first comic that Doug Ernst has made. We're talking about Soulfinder. I don't think I've said it. You saw the title of the video. Soulfinder by Douglas Ernst. But it felt like there was a missing chunk of pages. It at least needed 10 extra pages just getting to know the characters, the story developing a little further. It felt like it was building up and then suddenly it was over. And I missed the middle section. It's like you have Act 1, you have Act 3. What's the middle step to get to the profit? You know, it's like step 1, steal socks. Step 3, profit. Well, what's step 2? What do you do with the socks? Where's that part? And that's how it felt with the first book. I thought, you know what? My other criticism was that I didn't think the art style of the book matched its tone. They got a different artist for the second book. And I thought, awesome. And like the second book is an amazing printing. The quality of the printing is absolutely out of this world. The art is much improved in terms of tone. In terms of tone, much more appropriate for the tone of the story. And then I read it. And I was so disappointed to experience the same exact problems I had with the first book, which was there feels like Act 2 is missing. We go from Act 1 to Act 3 without any setup, without any journey for the characters. They get a mission, they go to the mission, they have a page of a fight, and it's over. That's basically it. And there's a reveal in the book where there's a character that you're introduced to, and then immediately he's bad. You're set up to him like, oh, he's an ally, and then the next page he's bad. There's no actually getting to know this character and invested in him, you know, as an ally, and then he turns on them, or you find out he's been bad the entire time, and you're like, whoa, no way, I really like that character. None of that. It immediately goes from them talking to him, getting on a boat, talking to him, and then, spoiler alert for this book, and then he's bad. The next scene, he's clearly bad. No, is this guy good or bad? You know, no Long John Silver Like, oh, he seems really nice. He couldn't be the one-legged man that Billy Bones was talking about, could he? Now, none of that. Just immediately bad. You don't care about the reveal. You don't care about the characters because you don't barely know anything about them. They don't have much personality to speak of. It's hard to distinguish between them in terms of personality and which character's which if they're not of different ethnicities. That's my problem with the book. It feels like you have 20 pages missing from the book. It doesn't feel like a proper story. It feels like Act 1 and Act 3, and we're missing Act 2. We're missing the middle chunk of the book that really matters. That's the point. That's the part where the characters struggle. We don't get a character's struggle. And maybe a climactic fight scene, but their struggle to do something, it never feels like they're really struggling to do anything. You don't see them overcoming obstacles, failing obstacles, trying again to overcome those obstacles or something similar. It's just success after success, and that does not make a compelling narrative. Now, that being said, I see great potential in this series, but you can only ask so much of an audience. You can only ask so much of people who are giving you their money. Without a marked improvement between books that is substantial in terms of story, I'm not compelled to get another volume. I just don't care about the characters. Their stories are not compelling. As good as the book may look in terms of production, the actual printing of the book, it doesn't change the fact that I had problems with the art, even though it's more appropriate for the tone, where the art style of Matthew Weldon, who seems like a genuinely nice person, and I like a lot of his art, the way that he draws makes characters look the same. It's very hard to distinguish between characters. And when you already have the problem of personalities being very similar and not really distinguishable other than names, it's sometimes hard to follow what's happening on the page. Now, I remember, it's been a while since I actually read the book, and I didn't reread it in terms of this review. I didn't even plan on doing this until 5 minutes ago when I started the video, basically. I guess 7 minutes and 51 seconds if we're being completely accurate. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be cruel, but it just doesn't work. And when I saw that Douglas Ernst was stepping back from his newspaper role that he had, a job as a journalist or a writer for a newspaper, I thought, well, good for him. I'm glad that the comics are working out so much that he's going to do that full time. That's fantastic for him. And I think that this might be helpful. If you are writing, there's a problem with comic books in general. And who's going to watch this entire video? It's going to be so long because it's just a ramble and a rant. But I really hope that people get to this point because I want to talk about something that I often complain about, but that is sometimes necessary, which is comic books are a weird medium. They're really costly to produce because of the amount of time that has to go into drawing them. And so people try to be economic with them. They either tell an incomplete story within their comic book and then want you to get the next one to get the next chunk of the story, and then the next one to get the next chunk of the story, and then they finally finish it after like 6 volumes, right? You finally get the complete story. And then in hindsight, you go back and you read through them and you try to see, are these cohesive? Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, because they're written in chunks. They're drawn in chunks. And they're not all done at once. The flip side of that is someone trying to do a complete story in a comic book, which I prefer if they can pull it off. I want to get the complete story right then and there. Have it be designed, it as a complete narrative from the first page to the last page, it just flows through it. There's no breaks in the story. There's no, well, next time you'll see this. That's what I prefer. But if you can't pull that off in the amount of pages that you've determined you can afford, or that you've determined that your story needs, you need to reassess how you're telling the story. Do you need to make it a two-parter? Then make it a two-parter. Genre fiction has a certain structure to it. You know, we all heard about Joseph Campbell's, Hero with 1,000 Faces, the mythic hero, and the journey of the hero, and all this nonsense. We've heard about the story structures of, a 3-act story structure, and you have in the middle, you have the character at their lowest point, and then they have an early victory, then they have a low point, and then they have to go from that low point up to a new high, even more than they were before. That's the idea, or at least getting back to the status quo. Like Indiana Jones starts out at a level, and then he has disadvantages, and he has to go back up to the level that he was at. He's not really a hero that changes, has a huge character arc. So that's the story structure for most fantastical works. And you have to be really good writer to pull off anything different. You have to be a very special writer to do something different, because it just seems off when people don't adhere to it and they're not skilled enough. So apply that to comic books just in general, not specifically about Soulfinder here, but apply that to comic books. When you start to get outside of the realm of a complete 3-act story structure, and you just have like a missing chunk of it, the story falls apart. Because what the story is actually about is accomplishing the character's goals. But if the character's goals are just go get object, go get MacGuffin, and stop demon, and we don't know anything about the character, we don't know what it takes to stop the demon, because once the demon appears on screen, they defeat it. There's no low point. There's no point at which they lose. They just go, betrayal, but it doesn't really affect them that much. They come back to where the villain is, the demon. They fight the demon. It's over. The betrayal isn't enough of a low point because they're not defeated in any way. So they're just sort of like, oh, this happened. Oh, okay. What are they trying to overcome? What are they trying to accomplish? And I think, if I'm completely honest, I was anticipating a lot more growth between Volume 1 and Volume 2. I worry that in today's modern society, or this community, that people aren't willing to be honest about what they think. Some people aren't really willing to be honest about what they think about a comic or a piece of fiction that they're expected to like, that they're expected to think is good. They don't want to analyze it and think about it and say, well, did I actually enjoy this? And if you enjoyed it, that's fine. That's okay. If you genuinely liked it, I don't have a problem with that. But for me, I don't think it works. And it's not mean to say that. I want to see these comics get better. I want to see them succeed. I want people to make independent comics that are worth reading. But at this point, I can't justify another purchase in this series until I know that the problems have been fixed. I was so excited to crack into this book. It looked beautiful from the outside. But on the inside, it just didn't work.
Explosion! Fly Fox!